A couple of months ago, I decided that I wanted to play Tony Hawk's American Sk8land, a phenomenal game for Nintendo's mid-2000 handheld console, the Nintendo DS. And like most people nowadays, I didn't buy this game. I sought out a download for it online, and I threw it on a DS flashcard, which these days is a pretty common thing to do. The DS is 21 years old now. It and its suite of games have been out of production for some time now. I don't think Tony Hawk is making that much money off Tony Hawk American Sk8land anymore, so I don't really feel bad pirating. I don't feel bad pirating the game because I own the game already. I keep it back there in that blue Tupperware bin. It's in there. But point being, however I managed to get this Tony Hawk ROM, as I was loading it onto my flash cart to pop it in my DS, I noticed something. Tony Hawk's American Sk8land is only 51 megabytes, which makes sense. Games on the DS are not very big, but this rattled my mind a little bit. That's not very big at all. In fact, I'm putting this on a 32GB SD card. This SD card can fit 640 copies of Tony Hawk American Sk8land. That's a lot of games. They don't all have to be Tony Hawk American Sk8land. Different games are going to be different sizes, of course, but most DS games are around 50 to 100 megabytes. How many DS games are there? That's not many. At this point, any desire to play Tony Hawk's American Sk8land had gone right out the window. At this point, I was hatching a new plan. Would it be possible to put every single DS game on one flash cart? That would be the entire DS library, every single game ever released, with me in my pocket at all times, only limited by the DS's 10 to 12 hour battery life. Could I do that? Let's find out, shall we? First things first, how many gigabytes would every single DS game be? We can't just multiply 3468 by 50 megabytes because DS games vary quite a bit in size. Pokemon Platinum takes up quite a bit more space than Elf Bowling 1 and 2. Look at this game. Luckily, I don't need to do those calculations though because someone on Reddit beat me to it. The entire Nintendo DS library is a little over 500 gigabytes, but this is including regional duplicates, games that are exactly the same but in different languages. If we exclude those games, the entire thing comes out to about 197 gigabytes, which is extremely convenient for me because that's actually exactly how much my SD card can hold. This is extremely doable though. Under 200 gigabytes, that can fit on a pretty normal SD card with room to spare. The question now is can a DS flash cart handle all of those games? And the answer to that question is sometimes. You see, not all DS flash carts are made equal. In these past 20 years of the DS, we've pretty much gotten to a final boss of homebrew that can run anything and everything you throw at it. From official DS ROMs to custom homebrew to Game Boy games, some even have built-in CPUs to emulate older Nintendo consoles, right on the flash cart itself. That is crazy. Pirating games today is extremely... I meant playing backups of games that you legally own is extremely easy to do. You just drag and drop the ROMs and away you go. Most flash carts of today can take almost any size SD card, no problem. And for me, this M3DS Real I have will fit a 256GB SD card without any issue. But it wasn't always like this. It took a while to get to this point. Flash cartridges of old had all kinds of problems. Some couldn't load your saves right, some couldn't play certain ROMs, and some could only hold 4 to 8GB SD cards. That's only 180 Tony Hawk American Sk8lands, or around 200 various DS games, which for most people would be plenty, but not for me. DS homebrew history actually goes a lot deeper than I feel like a lot of people realize. In the beginning, you couldn't even use just a DS flash cartridge. You had to use a pass-through cartridge that would tell the DS to read data from another flash cartridge in the GBA slot instead. And it gets even harder than that. Before this, they had another version of this pass-through card that required a full retail DS game to be inserted with it. And before this thing, they were just jamming circuit boards in there. This isn't just some random circuit board, this is a very early version version of this pass-through cartridge developed by the hackers Natrium42 and Lynx, but you are still fundamentally just jamming the raw PCB into your DS. This is all really cool though. I don't know if this part of the video is getting very boring, but all of this Nintendo DS hacking lore is very, very cool to me, and it seems like no one ever really talks about it. The DS came out in 2004, so a lot of the early efforts to hack it obviously happened in 2004 and 5. That's before even YouTube launched on the internet. So a lot of the early hacking efforts are largely undocumented, it seems like. Everyone's always talking so much about, oh, it's so easy to mod your 3DS, homebrew channel. No one ever talks about this guy, which sucks. But luckily, thanks to all the hard work of those people, we now have this. A modern DS flashcard that you can pick up at any AliExpress, Temu, eBay, or you could probably even just find one on the ground at this point. These things were huge. There are thousands of them out there. And any of these modern ones will work with any size SD card, you know, within reason. Okay, back to the main objective. We have an SD card that can hold all of the games. We have a flash card that can run all of the games. How do we get all the games? Well, it's actually very easy. You just go on this handy dandy website and... I mean, the only way to do this legally is to actually own every single DS game, which I do. They're all also in that Rubbermaid container. It may not look like they all fit in there, but they are. All 3,468 of them. That's true. However you obtained your ROMs though, this is where the real predicament starts. I can't just scroll through a list of 3,000 games every time I want to play Hawk American Sk8land, which will be very often. We need to organize these somehow. And this is where some guy on Reddit comes in. I'm very sad to admit this, but I'm not actually the first person to ever think of doing this. Donnypastrami, wonderful name by the way, created and put up a wonderful guide on Reddit on how he did this for himself. He goes into wonderful detail on how he organized his games. If you want to sort alphabetically, the programs he used to trim the library of any duplicate games in different languages. It's an exhaustive guide that goes through everything if you want to do this for yourself. I have never organized this many files before. Without this guide, my library would have been a giant mess. Huge shout out to Donnypastrami on Reddit. What a good name. And what a good guy. But basically, after getting all of my ROMs, I trimmed all of the regional duplicates, I sorted everything alphabetically like he did, as well as made a folder of top hits, the most popular games that I'm gonna be playing most often. You know, Mario Kart, Nintendogs, Pokemon, House. Now that everything is nice and sorted, we just have to make sure of one more thing. Even if your cartridge supports larger SD cards, the software and kernel your cartridge is running might not. My M3DS Real software was not. So for this, I'm running YSmenu, a community, pretty simple file browser type menu for DS flashcards that you can use on almost any one. And you can make themes for it. Here's one I made. It's annoying orange themed. Link in description. Once you have the right software on the card and you have all of your games all nicely sorted how you want them, it's time to drag. I'm gonna go ride a bike for 4 hours. Okay! And after 4 hours, here is the moment of truth. Every single game ever released on the Nintendo DS, all in the palm of my hand. All in the palm of my hand. Let's give it a whirl. And it works. Here it is. Every single game is here. What do I want? What do I want to play? Pokemon Platinum. Yep, there's all the Pokemons, as well as Pogo Island. Don't know what that is, but I have it. What else? What else? Ratatouille game. Do I not have Ratatouille? No, where is it? There it is. There it is, baby. And there's two. There's two Ratatouille games for the DS. I had no idea, but I have them. Check something Japanese. What's a Japan-only game? Hello Kitty No Oshare Party. Yep, there it is. From Software? That can't be. It's real. They made this Hello Kitty game. I'm gonna boot that one up, actually. Ah, look at this. Okay, I couldn't get past the main menu because I don't speak Japanese. But it works. They're all here. On my little tiny DS Lite here, I now have every single DS game that was ever released to the public. I can now play any game I want, anything. I could play all the stuff I never did as a kid. I could play all of the DS exclusives that so many people have told me to play for so long. Or actually, I know just what to do first. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to do this for yourself, of course, assuming you have also a Tupperware full of every single DS game ever made, I'll leave Donnypastrami's amazing Reddit post in the description. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. It doesn't even have to be about the DS, it could just be asking what's wrong with me. I hope even if you don't plan on doing this excessive shit to your DS, you at least learned a couple things about DS homebrew that you might have not known before. With all of that, have a wonderful day. I will see you in the next one. I'm off to shred the streets of Hollywood, baby. Yeehaw!